Hi folks, I hope that you guys are doing pretty well. So today is Monday, the 4th of December 2023, and in today's video, I'm going to be discussing what to expect prophetically moving forward into 2024. Now, my last video, I gave you a lecture, if you like, regarding all the end time Bible prophecies in which Israel has to fulfill before the rapture of the church. Okay, and so today this is going to be a very thorough video explaining prophetically everything that we need before the rapture of the church. Okay, now I've got a nice and handy map of Israel here because we are going to be talking about the covenant as per Daniel 9:27. Okay, and what my opinion is regarding that. Okay, now of course then Israel has 6 world conflicts. Okay, to expect before the rapture. Okay, and they also have 1 political conflict. In other words, 7 conflicts all up. Okay, now Israel right now is having a war against Hamas. They are having serious skirmishes against Hezbollah and the Houthis, and we know that we can expect the Bible prophecy of Isaiah 17:1. In other words, Damascus being a heap of ruins, and also we can expect the Elam Bible prophecy, okay, found in Jeremiah verses 34 to 39, okay, better known as the Elam Bible prophecy, okay. And of course, after that, we can expect the Ezekiel Word of 38 and 39, okay. Now, all these events are kind of like a chain reaction events, okay. Let me just get the iPad pencil going. So all this is kind of like a chain reaction, if you like, that leads towards the rapture of the church. Now, what you need to realize is that all of these prophecies, okay, are going to be done in an orderly manner until we have the Antichrist confirming the covenant as per Daniel 9:27 and 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 3. If you like, Daniel 9:27 is actually married to 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 3 because the Antichrist is going to have to talk about peace and safety. In other words, confirming the covenant as per Daniel 9:27, and then we know that after that is bang, rapture. Okay. So after the confirming of the covenant, uh, we got the uh, we got the rapture. So I can't press that one. So yeah, if you're wondering, I'm just using an iPad here, iPad 6th generation with a M2 chip, 12.9-inch screen. If you're wondering. Okay, so getting back here now, you have to realize, folks, that these 3 skirmishes here, okay, the Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthi conflicts that Israel is in the process of actually doing right now. Hamas is quite serious now. Hezbollah is kind of like middle of the road, and the Houthis are beginning to cause a little bit of concern, if you know what I mean, with recent skirmishes. Okay, now these 3 skirmishes, Hamas, Hezbollah, and Houthis, will lead in a chain reaction, if you like, in Israel fulfilling the Isaiah 17:1 Bible prophecy and also the Elam Bible prophecy as well, found in Jeremiah 49 verses 34 to 39. Okay, so these 3 conflicts or these 3 little wars, that in turn trigger in a chain reaction Isaiah 17 and Elam. Now, which one of these 2 is Israel gonna do first? Either Isaiah 17 or Elam. That is up to Israel. Okay, they can either do this one first, this one second, or this one first and this one second, or both at the same time. That will be completely up to Israel intelligence as to how they deal with these 2. Okay, but nonetheless, these 2, they then trigger or the provocation that is needed to trigger the secret word of 38, 39. Now, this has to be done all in an orderly process, okay, because it's a chain reaction, okay. It's conflicts, if you like, that trigger bigger conflicts. Okay, so these 3 here, the Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis trigger Syria and Iran. In other words, Damascus and Elam, And then these two conflicts trigger the final war of Ezekiel 38:39. Now, why is it that Ezekiel 38:39 is actually the last conflict um, before we had the peace covenant signed, if you like? It's because God needs to glorify and magnify himself amongst many nations, okay? And the only way that God can do that is at the end of all these conflicts, okay? So we have to go through all of these, and at the end of the secret war, before God magnifies and glorifies himself, because once God glorifies and magnifies himself, there cannot be no more war in Israel. Israel needs to be at peace so that Israel can stand the covenant, spot Daniel 9:27. Okay? So all these conflicts are like a chain of events. It's like having a synchronous gearbox, if you like. You know, first gear, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Now, you cannot go, for example, from, some people will probably say, okay, well, we might have the Secret War right now, and then Israel might finish these other conflicts here. No, it doesn't work like that, folks. Uh, all this has to be done in an orderly manner, okay, because these prophecies are all synchronous, okay, and these conflicts trigger other conflicts in a chain reaction process, okay. If we were to have a CQ 38, 39 now, then it will mean that God will glorify and magnify himself, okay, and then uh, you cannot have these other conflicts walking backwards, if you like. This all has to move forward. It's sort of like a manual gearbox: first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. And once, let's just pretend that we got a vehicle here, right? Pretend that this is a car. Once this vehicle has got into second, it can never go back because it'll be a prophecy being fulfilled. Once it goes into second gear, it'll be another prophecy, and so on. And once we get into sixth gear, this car here is on a freeway. It cannot go back to any of this. It cannot go back down in gears because all of these prophecies will have been fulfilled. And the sixth gear, will be the covenant, if you like. And this car here is on a freeway with a terminal speed, and only God can put a stop to it at the end of the Secret War when God glorify and magnify himself. That is the only time that this runaway car is going to stop in the freeway, when God puts a stop to it. Okay, so all these conflicts, if you like, folks, are all a chain reaction. Okay, these conflicts leads to these other conflicts, and these two then lead to the Secret War. Now, once we reach, the end of the Secret War, then that will be the time that Israel will send the covenant. It's for Daniel 9:27. Okay, and so you have to throw into the equation, of course, Israel. They will be victorious at the end of the Secret War because God will have defeated all of Israel's enemies. Of course, the Russians, the Turks, the Iranians, Sudan, and Libya. Okay, and so because Israel will have been victorious, and they're going to have their Messiah or the Antichrist on their side, then they can dictate terms in terms of the peace treaties. Okay, in terms of you know, uh, land for peace deals, if you like. I'll show you in a minute what I mean by all these land for peace deals. Okay. Now, of course, you're going to have Israel as part of this covenant of 1927, the Arab Palestinians, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan. Now, and quite possibly others in the Abraham Accords. Now, Saudi Arabia is very important to help Israel broker the peace treaties, okay, for all these lands, if you like. I'll go through this in a moment. So Saudi Arabia is important because we know that in Saudi Arabia, it's a main country regarding the Islamic culture. They obviously have Mecca and Medina, if you like. And so because of that, then Saudi Arabia, does have political and religious power, if you like, in the Middle East. And of course, you have to consider Jordan because Jordan are the custodians of Temple Mount. And like I just said, we could possibly see others in this covenant with many of Daniel 9:27, perhaps others already in Abraham Accords with Israel to help Israel, if you like, all these Arab nations to help Israel together with Saudi Arabia to get peace treaty govern this peace treaty covenant going as per Daniel 9:27. Okay, and of course this will then lead to the third temple. Okay, once the third temple is done, okay, we'll see the Antichrist coming out under 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 3. If you watch my last video, okay, and of course the Antichrist has to confirm, according to the Bible, the Daniel 9:27 covenant. And plus, he needs to talk about peace and safety and fulfill this prophecy in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3, that as the Antichrist comes out under 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3, he confirms the covenant, he talks about peace and safety, then rapture. Okay, now I'll get back to the land for peace deals in a moment. And of course, you have to realize that the third temple has to be rebuilt in the church age, okay? Because of the last days prophecies of Isaiah chapter 2 verse 2 and 3 and Micah chapter 4 verse 1 and 2 regarding the third temple and Revelation 11 part. I'll go into this in a little moment. Let me just go here through the land for peace deals. Okay, now because Israel will have been victorious, okay, in defeating the Syrians, Israel's gonna send Lebanon into the Stone Age. And they will have defeated, of course, in the northern mountains of Israel, the Russians, Iran, Turkey, Sudan, and Libya. Then the fact that Israel has achieved victory over this coalition, if you like, that means that Israel, together with the Messiah or the Antichrist, they will have more power because they have been victorious, okay, in establishing the boundaries, okay. Now, in my view, okay, the where we are right now in the church age, there is not enough time for all these nations, if you like, Israel, the Palestinians, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and so on, to make a huge conflict that could possibly take many years or take us to resolve, if you like, regarding these territorial boundaries. Okay, because Israel has been victorious, okay, and they got their Messiah on board, if you like, then what you're gonna see, what you see here in this map is pretty much what you're going to get. In other words, the Palestinians will get the West Bank, in my view. Gaza will be returned to the Palestinians after the Israeli war against Hamas. I believe that Israel will keep the Golan Heights, okay, and it's just gonna be the same as is. I don't think that where we are in the church age right now, that Israel or we the church have a long time to resolve, border disputes that could take, several years or even decades, as we've seen in other countries, in order to resolve disputes. I think this is going to be done pretty quickly because Israel, who have been victorious, they got the Messiah on the side, and it's just going to be a cease. I'm pretty sure, in my opinion, that this is going to be a cease. But what's going to happen is that because Israel is going to get Temple Mount, okay, and because it's going to be a peace treaty after all, into the Palestinians will have legal custody of the West Bank. Right now, they don't have legal custody, but I believe that once they sign these peace treaties, as per Daniel 9:27, that they will have legal custody of the West Bank and also the Gaza Strip, and that the borders will remain as is, and I believe that Israel will keep the Golan Heights. You need to realize, folks, that there is not enough time for Israel to take several years or decades to dispute boundaries with its neighbors, especially the Palestinians. Don't forget that Israel would have been victorious at the end of the Civil War. Okay, they got the Messiah on their side, and so they will be able to dictate terms. Okay, so all you're going to have is the Palestinians pretty much taking over the West Bank legally this time, the Gaza Strip, and the rest will stay as is. So now, and don't forget that at the end of the Civil War, okay, which is going to happen in the northern mountains of Israel, that according to Ezekiel, then 39 is going to take 7 months to bury the dead and 7 years to burn all the weapons. So, so that's why I don't think also that, Israel will give up the Golan Heights. I just don't think that there is enough time to dispute, all these borders, if you like, So now, getting back to the prophecies of the third temple, okay, if we go to Isaiah, I got the Bible right here. Bear with me, folks. Okay. If you go to Isaiah, it says quite clearly. Okay. So go to Isaiah and go to chapter 2, verse 2 and 3. Okay. And it shall come to pass in the last days. Okay. When the Bible talks about the last days, this is where we are right now in the church age in the last days. Okay. This third temple will be built in the church age before the rapture of the church. Okay. So it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house, in other words, the Lord's house is the third temple, shall be established in the top of the mountains, meaning on Temple Mount, and it shall be exalted above the hills, meaning that the Alaska and the Dome of the Rock will have to come down because the temple has to be exalted and it cannot have any competition. Okay, and all nations shall flow unto it. And many people shall go and say, come ye and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord. Okay, now some wording. If you go to Micah, okay, I got page markers here. So some wording, okay, so if you go to Micah chapter 4, but in the last days, okay, where we are right now in the church age, it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of the Lord, in other words, the third temple shall be established in the top of the mountain, meaning on top of Temple Mount, and it shall be exalted above the hills, meaning that the Alaska and the Dome of the Rock will have to be demolished because God cannot have any competition up there on top of Temple Mount because that temple needs to be exalted and people shall flow unto it. Okay, so we will see these prophecies come through the third temple before the rapture of the church. Now, even if you go to Ezekiel 38, verse 8, it says, after many days thou shalt be visited in the later years. So whenever the Bible says last days or later years, it's referring to the church age before the rapture of the church. Okay. Now, how do we know, okay, that the third temple, according to Isaiah and Micah, will be established and fully rebuilt before the rapture of the church? Okay. First of all, because it says in the last days. Okay. And like I just told you, last day refers to the church age, but also because if you go to Revelation 11, okay, so let us quickly go to Revelation 11, okay. Revelation 11 tells us, and there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood saying, rise, measure the temple of God. Okay, so you get that cell phone to focus. Okay, okay. So rise and measure the temple of God. Okay, it's not saying rise and go and see if they are rebuilding the third temple. No, it says rise. In other words, get up and measure the temple. In other words, there is a temple. Okay, so this prophecy in Revelation, okay, 11, verse 1, the fact that it's saying, hey, rise and measure the temple, it's pretty much confirming the prophecies of Isaiah and Micah. Okay, it's confirming the prophecies of Isaiah and Micah in that the third temple was already built and established at the end of the church age. Okay, so it confirms this prophecy of Isaiah. Okay, it confirms the prophecy of Isaiah that the third temple was fulfilled, like, or came to pass, or was fully revealed in the last days of the church age. So Revelation 11 clearly tells us or confirms that that third temple was fully revealed at the end of the church age. So this is why it's very important, folks, um, that people understand the process, if you like, regarding the rapture of the church, because you know the rapture of the church cannot happen at any moment or at any time. Okay, like unfortunately, many people don't understand this. That they really don't. It's just ignorance, folks. People don't understand the end time prophecies because they don't read them very well. And I guess sadly, people, how can I put it? You know, they haven't been given. Uh, you know, God has not enlightened them, if you like. We have the rapture of the church is going to happen. Let's just put it that way. Um, as a matter of fact, this rapture of the church is actually a puzzle. Okay, so suppose you got a. Let me just get the pen going here. Suppose you got a puzzle, right? And say that you got a landscape here with mountains and whatever, and you break this puzzle into dozens of pieces, okay? And then it's all jumbled up together around the Bible, okay? And so you got all these prophecies here, okay? And the rapture itself is a puzzle. And so because it's a puzzle of many prophecies, then you have to put this puzzle back together, okay? So in order for you to put the puzzle back together, in other words, piece by piece, then you have to look at all the end time Bible prophecies, okay? So you got Isaiah 17, okay? So you put it there, Isaiah 17, then you got Elam, then you got Ezekiel, then you got covenant, then you got third temple, and then you got confirming of the covenant, and then rapture, okay? Rapture, okay? So it's kind of like putting the puzzle together, but you have to be wise, folks. You have to be very clever in putting all these puzzles that's jumbled up in the Bible, if you like, the Bible, folks, can be a puzzle. And in order to decipher the rapture of the church, then you have to solve the puzzle. The puzzle is scrambled in pieces all over the Bible with end time Bible prophecies. And you have to figure out and analyze how all these Bible prophecies are going to work all the way to the rapture of the church. Okay? So you got to solve the puzzle, folks. And I have solved the puzzle for you. That's why the rapture of the church is not imminent, because if the rapture of the church was imminent, it will create complete prophetic chaos. Imagine, for example, like we have the rapture now, like many Americans tend to think, sadly, or they say imminent, meaning that it can happen like even right now. How foolish is that, folks? If the rapture of the church happens right now, it means that Moses, hang on, let me get my pen going. It means that just Moses and Elijah, okay, they have come down. We are now in the tribulation period, according to you Americans, saying that the rapture of the church is imminent at any moment. And Moses and Elijah are going to be here saying, hey, where is our third temple? It's not here. We have come ahead of time because Israel hasn't fulfilled any of its conflicts. Okay, they're only just at the beginning with Hamas, Hezbollah, and Houthis. They haven't started even with Isaiah 17 and Elam. They haven't even signed the covenant yet. They haven't even torn down the Alaskan and Dome of the Rock to rebuild the third temple. And we are here. What on earth are we doing here when we have come way ahead of time prophetically? Can you see how all this would be chaos? This would be one big chaos if we had a rapture now, Moses and Elijah coming up, because there is no gap. Dispensations happen um, one after the other after the other. There's not just fingers gaps. And if we have the rapture now, for argument's sake, the Moses and Elijah, they are here already. They haven't got the third temple. They're going to be saying, Israel, where is our third temple? We are in a prophetic mess here because Isaiah and Micah prophesied the third temple. We need to prophesy, according to Revelation 11, for the first 3.5 years of the tribulation period. Okay, for 1,260. That's where is a temple? It's not here. You have given us Israel, you have given us prophetic chaos. And also the Antichrist is gonna rock up as well. Okay? And he hasn't got the temple either, because after the 3.5 years, he's gonna see the proclaiming that he's gone. Okay, he's gonna be saying to Israel, "Hi Israel, I need to come at the end of the Secret War so we can sign this covenant together and do this peace treaty with all these nations here." Okay, we haven't got no covenant yet, so I have also been sent ahead of time with Moses and Elijah, and prophetically now we are in one big mess, one big prophetic mess. Okay, that's why it's not imminent at any time or at any moment. You guys have to, at some point in time, get out of that ignorance, of the imminency of the rapture of the church. Now, one of the biggest problems that I have found by listening to American pastors and Bible scholars is that they say that the rapture of the church is imminent and that it can happen at any time, for the fact that when the rapture does happen, yes, it's gonna be in the blink of an eye. It's gonna be in the blink of an eye. Yes, of course it will be, but there is a big but there. The bad is that just because it's gonna happen in the blink of an eye, that doesn't mean that it can happen at any moment or at any time. You know, no, folks, that is, it's gonna put Israel in a big prophetic mess. Do you honestly think that God is gonna put Israel into a big prophetic mess? No. The rapture of the church, folks, it's a puzzle. It has to be deciphered, okay? Because if you go to your Bible, okay, there are prophecies everywhere. There are end-time prophecies everywhere, all over the Bible. But because it's all scrambled, you have to put the puzzle together, piece by piece, in an orderly manner, that once you have done it, then you got the rapture. Okay, that's why the rapture of the church is a step-by-step prophecies. It's a step-by-step of the end time Bible prophecies, that once we reach the third temple, then at some point in time after the third temple, the Antichrist has to come out to confirm the covenant. Okay, but he needs to come out on the 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 3. I just show you my last video. Then he has to confirm it. Okay, first of all, he has to sign the peace treaty, okay, with all these nations here. Then he has to confirm it. There is a difference between signing and confirming. So so the Antichrist will confirm the covenants by Daniel 9:27, and he's going to fulfill this prophecy of Paul, because this is a prophecy too in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 3, that when they talk about peace and safety of the Daniel 9:27 covenant, in other words, confirming the covenant, then boom, rapture of the church. Okay, this is a step by step by step by step process until we get to the rapture, folks. And in my view, I think that by the end of 2024, or perhaps even prior, we will have seen, the end of the Secret War. I'm expecting that by the end of 2024, that the Alaska Mosque and the Dome of the Rock will have been demolished, and that Israel will have begun the reconstruction of the third temple sometime at the end of 2024, because we don't have a lot of time left now in the church age. And so I think that by 2024, in my view, we're going to see the rebuilding of the third temple. And you have to realize, folks, that we got the Alaska here and the Dome of the Rock here, okay? And it's gonna take some time, folks, to demolish these two structures, okay? And to rebuild the third temple, it's gonna take time, folks. Hopefully Israel can do it within a period of maybe 2.5 years, and then we'll be out of here. Let's hope so, for the rapture. So my view on the rapture is sometime in 2026, but say midway 26. That's my view, if not towards the end of 26. So I'm not saying I died, but in my view, the rapture I see sometime in 2026, at the end of 2026. It all depends how quickly Israel can rebuild this third temple here. But at least now we have seen how Israel now has become with these end times. You know, they are doing Hamas, Hezbollah, Hamas in a big way, Hezbollah and Houthi in the middle of the roadway. More is needed to defeat them. Okay, then they're gonna do Syria, as you know, Isaiah 17, Elam, Ezekiel, and so on, and the step-by-step process all the way to the rapture, folks. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say with this video. I just hope that you guys understand that this is all a process, you know, and that it's not imminent or at any time, because it will create big prophetic chaos. All right, folks, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.